Hey there, imagine if your friend Bob borrowed 20 bucks from you every Friday night. He never paid you back, but somehow the next Friday you still gave him 20 bucks again, and then again the week after that. At some point you'd stop and think, wait a second, am I the world's most generous ATM, or is Bob secretly a financial genius? That, in a nutshell, is how countries treat debt. They borrow money they'll never actually pay back in full, and yet the system keeps rolling. No one's breaking legs over it. No one's sending threatening letters, and somehow the lenders are totally cool with this arrangement. Weird, right? Here's where it gets interesting. Countries aren't like people. If Bob keeps owing you cash, you eventually get mad, block his number, or start charging him friendship interest. But when a country borrows, it's more like a giant game where everyone pretends the IOUs are valuable pieces of paper, because they kind of are. Think of it like this. You're at a family barbecue. Uncle Joe is in charge of bringing the drinks. Halfway through the party, he realizes he forgot the soda. He borrows 10 bucks from Aunt Mary to buy it. Now, technically, he owes her. But at the end of the day, they live in the same house, share the same fridge, and probably split the bills. Does Aunt Mary really expect Joe to hand her a crisp $10 bill later? Not really. She just wants the drinks at the party. That's how debt between governments and their own citizens works. A big chunk of a country's debt isn't borrowed from strangers. It's borrowed from people inside the country itself, like pension funds, banks, or even you if you've got government bonds in your retirement account. It's less random lender and more borrowing from your future self. But here's the wild twist. Countries don't aim to pay everything back. That's not the plan. The plan is to keep borrowing, keep rolling it over, and keep paying just enough interest to make lenders happy. Think of it like juggling. As long as the balls stay in the air, you look impressive. No one really cares if you finish the act, they just want to see the show continue. Let's go back to Bob for a second. Imagine Bob never gives you back your 20 bucks, but instead he says, hey, don't worry, I'll give you 25 later. Then when later comes, instead of paying 25, he says, actually, can I just borrow 30 from you and use part of it to cover the old loan? You'd think Bob is scamming you. But here's the kicker. If Bob were a government, that would be totally normal, because governments can keep issuing new debt to cover the old debt. It's like refinancing your credit card bill every month forever. Sounds reckless when you or I do it, but when entire nations do it, suddenly it's called monetary policy. Now, why would anyone lend money to a country that's basically saying, hey, by the way, we'll never really settle the tab? Simple, because countries have something individuals don't. They can tax their citizens. That's like having an endless stream of income from millions of people who can't really say no. Imagine if Bob could legally force everyone in the neighborhood to give him $1 every month. Suddenly lending Bob money doesn't seem so risky, right? And there's another reason. Countries don't usually borrow in order to pay it all back, like a car loan or a mortgage. They borrow to fund today's needs, like building roads, paying soldiers, or bailing out the economy when things go south. Lenders know this. They're not expecting the balance to hit zero. They just want their slice of interest along the way. Picture it like buying a ticket to an amusement park. You're not expecting to own the roller coaster after one ride. You're just paying for the experience. In the same way, investors aren't lending to countries hoping for a debt-free nation one day. They're lending because the steady interest payments are the real prize. Now here's the slightly sneaky part. Governments actually like having debt. Sounds crazy, but it's true, because debt gives them flexibility. It's like having a giant credit card that never expires. Need to fight a war? Swipe it. Need to build new schools? Swipe it. Global pandemic shuts down the economy? Big swipe. The bill doesn't have to be cleared, just rolled over again and again. And remember, countries can also print money. You and I can't do that. If Bob tried printing his own 20s in his basement, he'd be in jail by Monday. But if a government prints money to pay back what it owes, well, that's just another Tuesday at the central bank. Sure, it can cause inflation, but from their perspective, it's still a tool in the toolbox. But here's the twist that makes the whole thing even more bizarre. Governments don't even need to trick you into lending them money. You do it willingly. Think about your savings account. You put money in the bank, right? Guess what your bank does with it? They don't keep it in a cute little vault with your name on it. They use part of it to buy government bonds. So without realizing it, you're already lending money to your country. Congratulations! You're an investor in national debt, and you didn't even get a cool certificate to hang on the wall. And here's the kicker. This cycle is so normal that people panic less when governments are in debt. Sounds upside down, but stay with me. If your buddy Bob suddenly owed $50,000 on his credit cards, you'd stage an intervention. But if a government owes $50 trillion, people shrug and say, yeah, that's just how things work. Why? Because debt is baked into the system. It's like the secret sauce holding the whole burger together. Let's imagine the world without government debt for a second. Picture a Monopoly game where no one is allowed to borrow money. The game would end super quickly. Somebody would go broke. Nobody could keep buying properties. and the whole thing would grind to a stop. Debt is what keeps the game alive. It lets governments spend beyond their immediate cash, which means businesses get contracts, workers get paid, and the wheels of the economy keep spinning. But of course, there's a dark side. Too much debt, and investors start getting nervous. It's like lending money to Bob after he's already pawned his TV, his toaster, and possibly his cat. You start asking, wait, can this guy actually pay me back? When countries rack up massive debt, the same question comes up. And if lenders lose faith, interest rates climb, borrowing gets more expensive, and suddenly the juggling act looks a lot less graceful. Now, you might be wondering, why don't countries just stop borrowing? Why not collect more taxes, cut spending, and live within their means like a responsible adult? Well, 2 reasons. First, politics. Politicians want to get reelected, and telling people, hey, sorry, we're raising your taxes and cutting all your favorite programs is basically political suicide. Much easier to borrow and let the problem be tomorrow's headache. Second, debt can actually be a tool for growth. Picture this. Your friend Alice starts a bakery. She borrows $10,000 to buy ovens, mixers, and flour. That debt helps her earn more money later. For countries, borrowing to build highways, schools, or internet infrastructure is the same idea. Yes, it's debt, but it creates opportunities for future growth. So not all debt is bad. The problem is when debt gets so huge that all the country is doing is paying interest without getting new growth in return. That's when it's like Bob borrowing more money just to buy lottery tickets. And this is where the world of global finance gets almost soap opera dramatic. Because countries don't just borrow from their own citizens. They borrow from each other. The US owes money to Japan and China. European countries owe money to each other. It's like the world's messiest group chat where everyone owes everyone else dinner, but somehow the group keeps hanging out anyway. Why would China, for example, buy US government debt? Isn't that like giving your rival a big loan? Well, not really. Because for China, holding US debt is a safe place to park money. It's like buying chips at the world's most popular casino. Everyone knows the US will keep paying interest. It's reliable, and that makes the dollar valuable worldwide. But here's the thing. Countries don't actually want the debt to be paid off. Because if the US suddenly said, we're debt-free, it would pull trillions of safe assets out of the global system. Investors would panic. Trade would get messy. Basically, the financial world would lose one of its favorite toys. Debt, weirdly enough, is stability. It's almost like a TV series that never ends. You don't want the finale, you just want the next season. National debt works the same way. No one's waiting for the grand payoff. They just want the story to keep moving forward. Now let's zoom back in on ordinary people. You, me, Bob, Alice, everyone at the barbecue. Why should we care about all this? Because the way governments borrow affects our lives every single day. Inflation? Connected to government debt. Interest rates on your student loan or mortgage? Tied to government borrowing costs. The value of your retirement savings? Yep, linked to government bonds. So, in conclusion, countries don't aim to fully repay debt. It's designed to be managed and rolled over. Think of it less like a bill and more like a never-ending subscription. As long as trust holds, the system keeps working. And yeah, it's bizarre, but that's what makes modern economies tick. If you want me to cover more topics like this, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.